Thanks for staying with us. Now, Ghana risks losing out in a $30 billion oil find if the Energy Ministry fails to meet an April 26 deadline to act on a petroleum agreement by Norwegian company Aker Energy. That's the warning coming from policy think tank Imani Ghana. The company is seeking renegotiation of the terms they agreed on under the previous government for the Deepwater Tunnel Cape 3 Points oil block. Imani also says the terms of the agreement are so unfavorable that Ghana's interest will not be served if the government does not act quickly and amend it. Vice President of Imani Africa, Kofi Bentil, made this revelation at a forum held today. There's more in this report.
Imani Africa says Aker Energy announced the oil find earlier this year after its license for exploration had expired in July 2013. It says the company cannot lay claim to oil because the laws regulating the sector say such a find should belong to the state unless an agreement is reached to give the company a stake. Kofi Bentil is the vice president of Imani Africa.
We should not be allowing these things. It's $30 billion to a poor country. We should be up and doing, and all of us must be working hard to protect it. We won't get all of it. We'll get some of it. But we should get as much of it as possible. So this shouldn't be happening. And we think, Mr. President, if you are aware, please act. We really call on the President to ask his men what is going on, what has been done, and we plead with him, give us some information. We are enjoined in our Constitution to do things like this, so that we will protect Ghana, its resources, and its people.
According to Mr. Bentil, the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC, had on behalf of the Ghana government secured substantial percentages in the new oil find under the Mahama administration. Imani says, with the assumption of office of the current energy minister, John Peter Amewu, the corporation has failed to show interest in securing Ghana's stake in the oil find.
One of the curious situations concerning Aker is that even where we have negotiated extra interest, like the 10% in HES and up to 49% in the SDWT, we have refused to take them up. I am aware that these interests were negotiated in the previous GNPC. They were negotiated, Parliament approved them, and in certain instances, the money was made available. I have spoken to some of the persons who were involved in that. Now, the present GNPC has refused to pursue them. So specifically, Azure, I can say this for now. The present leadership of GNPC has failed, refused, or neglected to pursue agreements and arrangements reached before they came into office.
Even more shocking is a claim by the think tank that CEO of the GNPC, Dr. KK Sapon, has an interest in fuel trade, the Ghanaian company partnering Aker Energy. Mr. Bentil says this amounts to conflict of interest.
One of the partners of Aker is Fuel Trade Limited. Fuel Trade Limited is a Ghanaian company, and by our law, you need to have a Ghanaian partner. It is a good thing. We are happy to have Ghanaians partake in our oil industry. So we are happy with Fuel Trade. However, Fuel Trade is allegedly owned by Dr. KK Sapon and his family or his family. Our problem is Dr. KK Sapon is the CEO of GNPC. GNPC is the lead national expert entity. You don't have any expertise anywhere more than GNPC with oil. And they handle some of these negotiations, etc., and deals together with other state institutions like the Ministry and Petroleum Commission, etc. If it is true that there are connections between Dr. KK Sapon and Fuel Trade, which is a partner in Aker, then maybe GNPC or Fuel Trade is negotiating with itself. It doesn't look right.
Mr. Bentil says Aker Energy had submitted a program of development which spells out the terms and conditions under which it would develop and drill the oil. But Imani's checks reveal the checks are very unfavorable to the interest of the state. Mr. Bentil is warning if the Energy Ministry does not respond by tomorrow, the conditions will stand.
The POD that was submitted comes with a clause, and the clause can be found in 813 of the PA. It says that that POD must be approved in 30 days. And if you count 30 days, the deadline is tomorrow, Friday, 26th April. But that's part of why we are holding this forum today. And it says in 814 that if the POD is not approved by the minister, the parties shall within 30 days meet to agree on the revisions proposed by the minister to the POD. It means we can choose to say we don't like what you've written. Then we can go and sit down and agree. However, I'll say this before this. However, there in 813 says that if we fail to respond to the POD, it shall be deemed as approved. That's in the law.
Former chairman of the National Mining Review Committee, Professor Akilakpa Soya, who spoke at the forum, charged the media and Ghanaians in general to stand up and defend their stake in the exploitation of the nation's natural resources.
The Council of State, which, as you know, has powers to advise the president on virtually any matter whatsoever. So my concern is, one, where is Parliament on this matter? Two, where is the Council of State on this matter? And three, where are the media on this matter? I think it's very important for us to appreciate that in order to ensure the substantive improvement in our condition, both officials and all of us have obligations. We need to make sure that our concerns and our voices are heard at all times.
Right, in the last few hours, we have received a statement from Dr. KK Sapong responding to the allegations against him by Imani Africa at their press conference earlier today. My colleague Ernest Menu has a copy of that statement. He joins me in the studio. Ernest, so what does the statement say?
And so I'm just going to read verbatim what the statement says, and it's dated 25th April 2019. It says, my attention has been drawn to a press conference organized by Imani Ghana on the 25th of April 2019. Imani Ghana at the said press conference accused me of conflict of interest in GNPC's transaction with Anchor Energy in respect of the deep water Tunnel Cape 3 Points block. I wish to state emphatically that neither I nor my family own fuel trade as claimed by Imani Ghana. And Araba, you recall that at the said press conference, Imani said either Dr. KK Sapong or someone related to him owns trade fuel. He's denied that. He says, consequently, I, Dr. KK Sapong, Chief Executive of GNPC, cannot be accused of conflict of interest in dealing with the Anchor Energy as stated by Imani Ghana. Indeed, Ford trades 2% stake in the Deepwater Tunnel Cape 3 Points block was acquired in 2014, long before I was appointed to GNPC in 2017 as chief executive. Now, it is surprising that Imani Ghana, a think tank of its sort, could not carry out due diligence on its ownership, on the ownership of Fuel Trade Limited before arriving at the erroneous conclusion, causing me serious embarrassment and jeopardizing my standing in the international business community. No doubt I have incurred immense economic and political social costs by Imani Ghana's unjustifiable claim. Now, this I find unacceptable and hereby demand a retraction of the said claim and an unreserved apology from Imani Ghana and its Deputy Director, Kofi Bento, within 2 weeks. So there's a timeline, 2 weeks. And the retraction should be given as much prominence as the press conference. Meanwhile, I reserve my rights to seek legal address, and this signed by Dr. KK Sapong. We had this just a while ago.
Right, so these speak directly to the allegations and not to the concern by Imani about the not meeting the deadline.
Absolutely. So it doesn't deal with the issues of the deal and the arrangement as Imani raised, but deals specifically with the person of Dr. Keke Sapon and the conflict of interest situation raised by Imani. And when I checked on the website of Fuel Trade, just one person comes up, one Chris Chinebua, who is the executive director and founder of Fuel Trade. There's nowhere you find Dr. Keke Sapon. But of course, Imani also talks about beneficial ownership and what have you. And so these are issues. We see how it pans out in the coming days.
All right. Many thanks. NS Menu is my colleague here at Joy News. Meanwhile, the immediate past CEO of GNPC, Alex Mo, tells Joy News the Energy Ministry should not allow Aker Energy to dictate the terms of the agreement, as is the case currently. He says government should not rush to conclude the agreements that would not benefit Ghana. He spoke to Manasseh Awuni.
You have to put our best brains together to ensure that we achieve the best result for Ghana. And this is how we have negotiated all PODs, and I've been involved in 2 POD negotiations. So I know exactly what it entails. It entails the minister seeking advice from GNPC. GNPC has its own team of technical people, commercial people, and lawyers looking at various issues. They would have already had discussions with the contractor, who is a partner to GNPC. The Petroleum Commission would also be involved. Petroleum Commission would look at the merits of what they're asking for. So it takes a long process to get this POD approved. There is no rush to get it approved. In case maybe somebody thinks there's political rush, there is no way they can actually produce this oil before 2022. So you don't need it before 2020 for elections or anything. They should take their time. That is my advice. And this is the advice I gave my minister when he was there, based on my consultations with my technical, commercial, and legal people in GNPC, and also with my colleagues all over the world. You have to actually understand why Aker is asking for these things. You also have to understand that you are bound by the laws, and there are rules of engagement you have to rely on. There are regulations and laws, and Petroleum Commission is involved in it, GNPC is involved in it. You have to consult, you have to make sure that they are not breaking any law. You're not allowing them to break any law. They're getting the approvals at the right authority level.
All right, let's go on the line because we are joined by former Energy Minister Emmanuel Kofi Boah. Many thanks for your time, Mr. Boah. It appears we don't have Mr. Boah on the line. We'll bring you that later when we are able to reach him. Away from that, government has distanced itself from Senior Minister Yao Osafo-Mafo's comment that Chinese Galamsey Queen En Wang, popularly known as Aisha Wang, was deported because of a number of factors, including diplomatic ties and the $2 billion Sino-Hydro agreement. Speaking at a press conference Thursday, Lands and Natural Resources Minister Kweku Asuma-Kyereme dismissed assertions the trial of Aisha Wang was terminated because of the Sino-Hydro infrastructure deal. Maxwell Abawa was at the press conference and reports.
A very good relationship with China. The main company.
Senior Minister Yao Osafo-Mafo at a recent meeting with some Ghanaians suggesting that Galamsey Queen Aisha Wang was deported because of a number of factors, including diplomatic ties and the $2 billion Sino-Hydro agreement.
$2 billion to us. But when there are these kind of agreements, there are other things behind the scenes.
At a media briefing, the Lands and Natural Resources Minister Kweku Asuma-Kyereme stated it is untrue the trial was discontinued because of the Sino-Hydro infrastructure deal.
I know, and I've been briefed, that Aisha Wang was not part of the discussion and the people they met in China talking about this loan. And we did not sacrifice her or exchange her for the loan. No government official thought of shielding her. No government official pampered her.
Is that the official position of government on the matter? Nana Madukua Isiameje is the Deputy Information Minister.
That's the position of the government, and that is the position of the government.
And so it is different from what the senior minister said.
What he has read today is the position of the government.
Thank you.
For anything else and how you'd want to interpret it, that is not the position of the government. What he has read today on the statement is the final position of the government. All right. I hope I'm clear.
I get you.
The minister has also described as mere allegations, suggestions Aisha Wan had a strong link with the government.
It is a sheer allegation, and such allegations need proof. Has that been established? That is the issue. As to whether Aisha was part of the deal or she was not part of the deal, it's neither here nor there. The most important thing is that she erred. She went contrary to our rules, and we have deported her. She's not in the country. The most important thing is to achieve sanity on the ground, and that is exactly what we are pursuing.
But you know, in another African country, a lady was actually jailed. They call it the Ivory Queen. I mean, she was going about, doing that. She was jailed in another country. So why couldn't she also prosecute Aisha Wan and instead deported her?
That was at the discretion of that country. Here, our discretion was to the effect that the trial of Aisha Wan be truncated and then afford her the opportunity to go to her country.
They are concerned some water bodies have gone back to their bad state because of the continuous activities of illegal miners. Kweku Asumatreme again.
So the rains that have set in today might have caused some river bodies to go close to the bad state that we found them. But it is not all that bad as we saw in 2016. Some illegal miners are in the forest today. It is true. We are chasing them. That is why we have laws.
Responding to calls for the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining to be dissolved, the minister stated the fight against Galamsey is broad. Hence, the committee is also needed to aid in the fight.
The sector is so big to the extent that you need more hands to assist in this direction. And the government thought it prudent to have another body under the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources to assist in averting all such bad circumstances.
Well, the Media Coalition Against Galamsey says it is unimpressed with Lands Minister's comments regarding the deportation of Galamsey Queen Aisha Wan. Convener of the coalition, Ken Ashibe, believes hefty sanctions must be imposed on perpetrators rather than merely deporting the culprits.
In one breath, it is good that the government is saying that they did not discontinue it for that. But unfortunately, and I think I also blame you, the media, we should have asked the Deputy Information Minister, what is the government's position on the statements made by the Senior Minister? Because that is still really in limbo. We just have to infer. Senior Minister is more senior to the Deputy Minister for information. And he's even more senior to the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. See, you don't only require law enforcement agencies to be able to win this fight. You require everybody coming together to be able to fight this. It tells foreigners that you can come into our land and come and do anything. If we decide that we're going to file a nolle prosequi, it is important that it is explained, so that it is not enough for the Minister for Land to just come and say it is based on the discretion of the Attorney General to be able to file a nolle prosequi. This is not one of those cases. There's public interest involved in this particular fight, and we should not delude ourselves. Though the Minister did not actually state it, that they are dissociating themselves with what the Senior Minister said. But you see, the thing that also does is that in this country, it just tells, if I go back home and I'm talking to my son and say, when you do wrong, there are implications for it. It does not seem as if we are practicing that, where there are sanctions and rewards for doing the wrong thing.
Coalition is also shooting down Mr. Asumacheme's high ratings of government's fight against illegal mining. The minister pegged the ratings at 85%, despite concerns the illegality is festering in parts of the central, western and the Ashanti regions. But in an interview with Joy News, Mr. Ashibe said although there have been some strides in terms of awareness and interventions to try and deal with the menace, the fight is far from being won.
The minister, what KPIs is he using to rate a fight? Because 85 in a lot of jurisdictions would be an A. You know, I'm not too sure I would, in terms of where we are currently with this fight, where the very minister went to particular places and saw people by the side of the road engaged in this illegality. How would we be giving ourselves that we're good to go? Because 85, we don't need to do anything else. You know, I keep on saying that the fight against illegal mining is a war. So there are some battles that we have won in terms of creating the awareness, in terms of getting Operation Vanguard to come and start, in terms of the arrests that have been made. But let's go back to an issue, a critical issue, like even in terms of when the arrests are made, in terms of convictions that we've had. Physical, you know, fines are what are, are imposed on people. If you look at the issues of the issues of even the turbidity of water, there are situations, you know, and you see, when it comes to turbidity of water, I've seen the minister comment and say it's rainfall. You know, there's data to prove, and when it comes to turbidity of water and the management of it, it's a pure science. There are still people who are mining, including the people that the minister himself saw. So when we start becoming complacent and putting numbers at 85, it prevents us from actually facing the issues that need to be done in terms of being able to deal with this.
The overhauling of the Interministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining, the coalition says the ad hoc measure to deal with the deep-rooted menace cannot yield any results unless a comprehensive plan like the Multilateral Mining Integrated Project is implemented.
One of the KPIs for the coalition was to investigate, gather information, name and shame, and provide evidence for prosecution. But within our Ghanaian jurisprudence, you are assumed innocent until proven guilty. The question, so Anas is part of the media, so definitely his work is a work that is part of the things that we endorse. And we know that he has provided evidence to the special prosecutor. What we would ask for is the fact that this prosecution should be speedily done. And definitely anybody who, has adverse findings against you like you would do, you would want those people to step aside. So using ad hoc bodies to be able to solve, issues that are of permanency really do not work. There are already institutions that are there that have historical knowledge. So if we want to let some elements like, the Operation Vanguard, who would be able to provide an EPA or a mining inspector who's gone to the field and found that some people are breaking the law and need law enforcement, bring them in. If you want to bring the issues of training. So I would rather we allowed these constitutionally mandated bodies to actually work. And then the elements and the learnings from this Interministerial Committee rather be infused into that and allow the MMIP, which is a more integrated project, to work.
You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Araba Kunsun. Still to come, the NDC's General Secretary, Asiedun Ketia, responds to accusations of disrupting yesterday's IPAC meeting.
Leadership of Electoral Commission treating IPAC with some contempt. What they are bargaining for, it's very scary. Then she mentioned my name here in narration. That I said, Ketia, why are you making noise? Why are you making? I said, oh. Well, if that is the case, madam, I'm complying. So I frowned my face now. I say, I'm trying to comply with them.
We have more of that coming after business with Sandra Afeni. Thank Thanks for staying with us. In other news, the Electoral Commission is insisting the upcoming limited registration exercise ahead of the District Assembly elections would be conducted at its 250 district offices across the country. That's according to the General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu-Nketia. This has sparked a loud protest in the NDC camp as the party accuses the Commission of disregarding the concerns of IPAC, that's the Inter-Party Advisory Committee. According to the NDC, political parties at yesterday's IPAC meeting mounted stiff opposition to the approach adopted by the EC to conduct the limited registration exercise, arguing it would disenfranchise potential voters. The NDC believes the EC's decision to violate its own laws is a recipe for chaos. General Secretary of the party, Johnson Asiedu-Nketia, has been speaking to Joy News.
When you begin seeing leadership of Electoral Commission treating IPAC with some contempt, or members of IPAC with contempt, what they are bargaining for is very scary. About Dr. Bosman's pronouncement some 2 weeks ago, the Electoral Commission can take our decision with or without anybody, and he was roundly condemned by society. Yesterday, the chairperson of the commission repeated the same thing in a worse form.
And you know, you say the EC is insisting that they are going to conduct the limited registration exercise at their district offices.
Yes, and we say go to do it at electoral areas. That was before the referendum. Right. They insisted that no, they would do it with the online equipment that is intended for that supplementary registration. That was what they were going to use.
And the EC, was the EC emphatic on that?
Yes, so they insisted on that one and actually used it for the limited registration that in the referendum affected areas. And we warned them, we came out, issued a statement that we think that this registration would not succeed because of ABC. We gave the reasons.
So are you saying that the EC is undermining the function of IPAC?
They are undermining their own functions. Because you see, according to Act, their functions as provided under Act 451 includes a responsibility on Electoral Commission to undertake activities for the expansion of voter registration. So if you cannot expand, you cannot be seen to be.
You said they are expanding.
They are not expanding. They are shrinking the registration.
Mr. Asiedu-Nketia also accused the Commission of concealing vital information from the parties. One of such is the failure of the EC to disclose how its expended funds meant for the refurbishment of the registration kits. Mr. Asiedu-Nketia says, despite parliamentary approval for the refurbishment of the kits, the EC has failed to use the funds for its intended purpose. He wants the Commission to be transparent in its dealings.
I ask, Madam, I'm aware that Parliament appropriated monies for the Commission to enable you undertake the registration exercise up to the electoral area level. And you projected some numbers that you were going to capture and all that. Now, the presentation you are giving us seems to run counter to what Parliament has appropriated. Can we know from you what were your arguments that backed your request for the funding which got Parliament approving? Because I'm sure if you said what you are saying here to the parliamentary committee, they wouldn't have approved that money for you. And so first, her first response was that, look, we don't owe any political party any explanation about our finances and our budgets. So everybody in the room was shocked. You say you are not giving us that information and that we are not entitled to that information.
And
so,
she didn't give you that information?
No, she didn't. So that was where some representatives of IPAC started heckling her. Okay. And I was there. And in her long narration about the reason why she has decided to do this, that, she then mentioned that the registration kit, the look of the registration kit the container, is similar to a portmanteau bag that is carrying, that is being carried by a bridegroom for a wedding. So I started laughing. Actually, it was, a very laughable comment.
So you're laughing at that?
Yes, so I started laughing. Then she mentioned my name in her narration. That I said, Nketia, why are you making noise? Why are you making? I said, oh. So everybody in the house said that, but we haven't seen Said Nketia speaking. And I said, but he's laughing. Well, if that is the case, madam, I'm complying. So I frowned my face now. I say, I'm trying to comply with the... so I frowned my face, and then some people started taking pictures, threatening to put them on Facebook. I said, well, if you put them there, I'll be compelled to explain why I have frowned my face.
NDC General Secretary Johnson Asiedu Nketia there. And the coalition of civil society groups advocating the establishment of an independent police complaints commission wants government to show more commitment in setting up the commission. The group says it believes the Police Complaints Commission will address many human rights cases brought against the police service. At a media briefing in Accra, the coalition says the slow pace of progress in getting a legal framework for the establishment of the commission is largely to blame for the lack of commitment from the Interior Minister. There's more in the following report.
The civil society group made up of Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, Center for Democratic Development (CDD), Amnesty International, Human Rights Advocacy Center, among others, states in a report that almost 20 cases of police brutalities reported in the media in the last 12 months are yet to be concluded. The group attributes the slow pace and conclusion into investigations of human rights cases brought against the police service as a result of the absence of an independent police complaints commission. Head of Africa Office of the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, Mina Mensah, says years of discussions and push for the establishment of IPCC for Ghana has been delayed due to the lack of commitment on the part of the Interior Minister.
The coalition, however, notes with regret that it has not been able to engage the Ministry of Interior in these latest initiatives, despite several efforts and attempts to brief the ministry and to get their inputs. It is important that the executive and political head of the ministry, in the person of the Honorable Minister, be seen to be playing a more active role in championing this cause. The coalition has been able to catalogue a number of cases from media reports, some dating as far back as 2011, in which innocent civilians have been killed, maimed, or treated with disdain by some police officers. And most of these cases have not been responded to. These cases include the case of Norman Addo, who was killed in 2012 by police officers who claimed he was a notorious criminal in Kumasi. We cannot end these examples without mentioning the brutal assault on Multimedia's Latif Idrisu, which happened at the police headquarters in Accra over a year ago. To date, the police say they are investigating.
Director of Amnesty International Ghana, Robert Akoto Amoafo, says government must show more commitment by commissioning public investigative reports into police brutalities.
The police sometimes brutalize people, sometimes their work fall out of hand, and we have only an institution that looks at their work which is within the police system itself. So we don't trust the efficacy or the correctness of some of the information that they bring. Sometimes we don't hear from them. Sometimes we don't hear anything even after an investigation is done. And we believe that with an independent police complaint authority or commission, we'll be able to engage with the commission and ensure that information is shared on time, investigations are carried out quickly, and we get the results that we expect. But we see very, very limited commitment from the ministry that is responsible. The minister himself needs to come up and show commitment, get involved, engage us so that we are able to move forward faster he is the one responsible to show this in Parliament, to read it in Parliament, to lead the discussions in Parliament, because it's coming from his ministry.
The Independent Police Complaint Commission is expected to help exercise oversight responsibility on police personnel who act unprofessionally. Matilda Magan for Joy News, Accra.
You're welcome back. Now, children and teachers of the Agogo Basic School in the Ashanti region who study in a dilapidated structure will soon see an end to their plight. MTN Ghana Foundation is funding construction of a 6-unit classroom block which is at the roofing stage, less than 3 months after the work begun. The project consists of a library and staff common room. It follows a Joy News Agenda story by Ohiming Tewia highlighting the state of the old building and how occupants were exposed to danger. He visited the project site and filed this report.
Poor infrastructure put the lives of pupils and teachers of Ishaeso District Assembly Basic School in danger. Cracked walls, loose door frames, fallen ceiling and foul-smelling animal droppings remain their lot. Female students who trek to school in a nearby community are reportedly subjected to sexual abuse by nomadic herdsmen.
Children walking distances to Ananikrum every day. One, they are exposed to harsh weather conditions, attacks of miscreants, cases of rape were so rampant. And then dropout rates, because these children could not afford walking about 6 months in. So if you have about 15 of them beginning JHS1, by the time they get to JHS3, you have a number less than 5 left. So we had a huge dropout rate.
MTN Ghana Foundation approved funding for the project to bring relief to students and their teachers. Workers are busily laying concrete blocks to prepare for roofing the structure, which consists of a library, staff common room and store. District Director of Education, Ernest Kojaferi, was incidentally at the site at the time of our visit.
We are so excited. In fact, it's just virtually a dream come true. We never imagined that such a big thing could be done within a space of less than 3 months. So we strongly believe, very optimistic, that in about 4 months, 5 months time, this project will be completed and handed over to Ghana Education Service for use, maybe come the next academic year. So we are very much excited, very much excited. It's unbelievable that such a big thing could be achieved within a short space of time.
Assemblyman for the area, Peter Abaji, says what began as a tale has become a reality.
When I first heard the news, I was doubting, but for now it has come to reality. So I'm much happy, and then I appreciate whatever MTN is to do for us.
Mr. Afari is hopeful enrollment and retention of students will improve upon completion of the project.
With this opportunity here, children will no longer walk distances, and so we believe that retention rate is going to be very high, and then completion rate will also as well be very high.
From Ishaeso for Joy News, Ohiming Tewia reports.
Soon. But that's how we wrap up the news today. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. I'm Marva Kumson. Good night. PM Express is up next.